So now I'm going to be talking to you about the third decan of Aries. And in Aries, we use the Emperor to talk about that sector of the zodiac. He represents the Aries force in our tarot deck. And he is that vigilant, powerful, ready to spring into action ruler. There is leadership here, and there is boldness, assertion, impulse, instinct, all this raw, potent energy here. And we see that he has a globe, a dominion in his hands. He's shaping the world from his throne. And in the first decan of Aries, we saw it expressed through the idea of Mars in Aries. And we see this warlike, destructive energy featured in the Tower card. And then we moved to the Sun in Aries. And this represented a different kind of energy. And we see this solar force radiating out, giving direction, lighting up the path ahead. And now in our final decan of Aries, we meet with the Empress. The Empress, ruled by Venus, is here, rich and fertile with potential and pregnant with possibilities. She is immersed in the abundance of the natural world, and she is love, and she is passion, and she is desire, and she is at one with all things. She knows her self-worth, and she is completely aligned to it. She is like a magnet drawing things to her. And this woman is not chasing anything. She is reposed, she is reclined, she is Venus. Venus rules this Empress. And we see this life force potential here with the number 3, this idea of her being rich with creative energy. And what I'd like to do now is, just before we come together in the pip card, in the minor arcana that draws these together, I just want to talk about this in terms of our original myth, the Aries myth that I used to describe Aries, the golden ram, who in our first decan of Aries leapt into action, that springing, that immediate leap forward into action of Aries in the first decan. We then see this ram rescue the children and set off across the skies, giving force, momentum, and directing that energy through the skies, the journey, if you will. And now in the final decan, we see the sun that survives, slaying and sacrificing the golden ram as a gift to the gods. In this, there is ceremony, there is a marking, there is a representing the end of a chapter and the closing down of events. And we see this echoed in our 4 of Wands minor arcana card, the card that represents our third decan of Aries. And what we see here is that same energy of celebration and ritual and a coming together and a completion stage, marking it in some way. And so what we see here, if we look carefully, is we have our Empress, our Venus in Aries. And we can almost see these characters together here, this coming together of this incredibly powerful pair in perhaps a wedding here, a celebration. And this coming together is marked in the closing of the myth that I've been using to describe each decan. We had the myth of Cassiopeia with Andromeda sacrificed to Cephus, the whale, the sea monster. And we had Perseus swooping down, having just defeated Medusa, cut off her head. He uses Medusa's head to turn this sea monster to stone, and he saves our damsel in distress. And this is where we enter our third decan of Aries with the concluding part of this tale, because he has his incredible supernatural steed, Pegasus the winged horse. He whisks Andromeda, after rescuing her, back to her homeland, back to the sanctity of her father's castle. And there we see in the sky, in this decan, in this third decan, the stars of Cephus, the king, Andromeda's father. And so the return to the homeland, and then the marriage. The pair of them get married. And we see this in our Four of Wands. Again, this uniting of forces, this celebration, and also the marking of the end of a chapter, bringing something to a close. And this is really interesting here because it is said that having Venus in Mars is to the detriment of Venus. And this card has also been described, or this Decan has also been described as the Emperor, if you like, the protagonist, wants to do good, but is unable to do so. And so what I get with this is this idea in marriage is he wants to do good, but he's fulfilling his marriage vows. He needs to take care of his bride. He could be Mars, fighting that war, being out in battle, doing good. But in some way here, he's had to make some sacrifice in order to come together with his bride. And Venus also in detriment here, in Aries. She is not recognizing her full potent force here. But my goodness, is she going to use her skill and her Venusian energy to party her way out of this? And together there is love. We bring together the Emperor and the Empress, and we see perhaps between them, the energy of Aries here is expressed as making love, not war. And so here I'm brought to think about the painting by Jacques-Louis David, who painted the picture Mars disarmed by Venus. And what you get here is the sense of the tender, honeyed voice expressing her love, able to take the armament, the armor away from Mars. So that the warlike energy of the tower that we see as one way of representing our emperor is replaced instead by the seductive sweetness and loving embrace of our empress. And so this idea of the weaponry being taken away from Mars, from our emperor at this time, through sheer love and perhaps lust. So what does this mean for you with these cards, where we've explored the idea of the Empress and the Emperor coming together in our third decan of Aries? Well, for you, perhaps it's to celebrate the mundane. It's to celebrate the milestones in your life that may be big, but they also may be small. So maybe in this next 10 days of this decan, you can look at where even opposing forces can come together in joy, in celebration, and love. Or you can simply mark something by having some fun and letting go and just enjoying this point in your life, because this does represent a temporary break in events. So the coming together, this marriage, is actually being shown with a temporary version of stability of a home, the chuppah. This is representing the bride and groom's future home, but it is just a temporary structure. And it means that maybe Mars has given up the fight for a moment, but he still has work to do. And these two are about to cross the threshold into a whole new chapter, a whole new part of the journey. So where is this also you celebrating where you are at and ready to take on your next chapter and step across the threshold into a whole new territory? And that will be our next decan, and it will be the first decan of Taurus in the next 10 days. In the meantime, have a wonderful day.